Welcome to the Sketch Squad and the Maverick Nation, sponsored by Darkbox, Razer, Origin, Nvidia, and Discord. Under Antitrust Incorporated and Butler Company, we are streaming on Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, Mixer, and a bunch of other video game platforms to engross and impact the community and viewership on the Game for Kids with Disease and stream from your already existing 4G LTE smart device. Stay tuned. Streaming from 4G LTE, broadcasting gameplay for children in the hospital, St. Louis Cardinal Glennon. In our efforts to game for kids and stream from the 4G LTE data plans across the United States, and sometimes out of it too. We got sponsored by Origin, Razer, Nvidia, and have created and incentivized an Antitrust Incorporated affiliate system for you to become sponsor. Take the links, share it with your friends and family. $700 off laptops right now. Thanks, Razer. Join the Maverick Nation. extra-life.org. Here on YouTube, you press the show more button, go right down to our team, and sign up for our team. Stay tuned. Same bat channel, same bat time. Welcome to the Sketch Squad, the educational, informational live gaming stream on how to develop your own stream, game for kids in need in Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and stream from your already existing 4G LTE smartphone data plan. In our efforts to game for kids and stream from smartphone, helping you, the potential content creator, and win laptops and become sponsored. We got sponsored by all these companies by streaming and doing good things on a live stream and advocate you to do as well. Today, we are doing the most epic of all interviews, Prince Magnum of the Maverick Nation, hot rod extraordinaire, and Coin, the most romantic husband in St. Francis County, master of magic and sleight of hand, historian, and aspiring theologist. Classic car concepts today. What's up, Prince Magnum? How are you doing, man?
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. I know we're streaming on my channel, and we're also streaming on SketchSquadTV. I want to thank Mr. Charles for this opportunity to share my knowledge of classic cars. It goes. My knowledge of the old cars goes back a little ways, if you will. So hopefully by the end of all this, you guys will have a deeper sense of the old cars more than you did before you clicked on this video.
Definitely. And I just want you guys to quickly drop what you're doing right now. Go to awindustries.webstore.com. Start sharing those NVIDIA links. We got super promotions. Give your family and friends the promo codes. You earn commission. They'll tell you they bought something. You bring that order number to me or one of the moderators in our Discord, and guess what? You're getting 50% of that commission. Sometimes it's thousands of dollars. Check it out. Today, Sketch Squad TV, Antitrust Incorporated, Anything Android LLC, and Content Creator Community TV present an interview with the Dark Prince.
That would be me, none other than Prince Magnum himself. Oh man, this is gonna be interesting.
An all-performance and classic car consultant, conceptual information support for consumer-centric fuel system intelligence in automobiles. So here we have you, Mr. Magnum. Ha! So what's your background, man? What are your years of experience in history and challenges that you yourself have successfully exceeded?
Well, let's just go ahead and start at the beginning. The first time I started turning wrenches was back when I was 16 years old. That was back in 1996. I stopped for maybe like 4 years. It was the worst 4 years of my life. But I've worked primarily on General Motors products. Worked with some Fords over the years. Yet to really have the opportunity to tinker around with Mopar products or products from AMC. But AMC has a lot in common with the
American Motors. Now,
yeah.
Why was it the worst 4 years of your life?
Just because I love working on cars so much. It's so much fun to work on cars. There's something to be said about once it gets into the blood, it's hard to take it out of the blood, if you will.
Right, blood's thicker than water, man.
Right.
Awesome, dude. That's cool. So you had a lot of experience working on cars. Do you have any mottos?
Well, there's always Newton's 3 laws of motion. Well, then there's Prince Magnum's 4th law of motion. What comes down the road must come like hell.
Falling balls, wheels won't touch the ground.
Right. But if anything, there's always room for perfection when it comes to your classic car.
Presentation's everything, huh, man?
Well, not necessarily so much, if you will, just presentation. Looks don't make it run. Okay.
Right. That's what my dad Patrick said when he was teaching me to play drums. If it looks like a Japanese-made drum set and it's all warped out, man, but it sounds good, you're good.
Yeah, and you'll find
spoiled.
You'll find with the old cars, it doesn't necessarily have to look the best, but as long as it runs the best, you're dead on track. Okay, so always remember, looks don't make it run. It's right, and look, Project Spirit, when she left the factory in technically 1974. She was rated at 85 horses, but you yourself have reviewed the video footage yourself, and it's
at least 130, right?
well,
130.
oh no, it's nothing like that. I don't get hung up on numbers. Basically, I always worry more about does it do what I want it to do?
Right.
At day's end,
So considering that, what type of care or preventative maintenance and restoration methods are like a best practice of yours and would be a pro tip for any aspiring viewer or hot rodder out there or newer vehicle owner as well, both spectrums?
Okay. What's the first thing that anybody should learn to do? Change your oil. Okay.
First of all, drive, right? Pass the driving test.
Well, that's an obvious, but I
Right.
mean, it doesn't
You're the pro
matter.
driver.
It doesn't matter if you have a new car, an old car, or all points in between. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's car, truck, van. I don't care. Okay. If it has a motor, you put a key in it and you hit that ignition, you need that vehicle to always run it its best performance, and making it last is super important. Okay. So
Longevity and lifespan. I'm all about that.
right. Uh, it, I don't care if it's one of the latest and greatest Ferraris or Lamborghinis. Change your oil. Okay. Do the tune up. Treat, how many times have I seen where, it used to be in the old days when when people would get, basically they would get this, they would ask, hey, Prince Magnum, what is one of the things, what are a couple of things that we should, that you consider I know what I'm trying to say here.
The concept?
No, what are some things that people neglect? And
Mhm.
and I would maybe name off one or two things. Well, today the list starts and it doesn't stop. So do a tune up, know how to do an oil change. Those are so crucial.
For like a pro tip, that's really a lifespan and longevity factor to helping in preventive maintenance or even restoration. What about restoration in like older cars that have been in the leaves and like the garage and everything's getting screwed up?
Okay, first,
What do you use?
if the engine
Wax?
turns, if the engine turns over, it'll start, it'll run. So if you know how to do an oil change, you know how to do a tune up, that's a good spot to start. Okay. Uh, so you want to start right there. Okay. If that engine turns over,
Mhm.
especially your old carbureted engines, if that engine turns over, that means that it'll start, it will run. It might smoke like a freight train. It might smoke like a freight train, but it will start and run. So there's your beginning point. Okay.
Mm.
So knowing how to do that on pretty much any vehicle is a great way to start a restoration project. Now, obviously, if it doesn't have an engine and transmission in it, well, that's a whole nother ball game. But you want to definitely,
Right.
I mean,
You're
nine times.
going far, are you?
Well, no. So I mean, but 9 times out of 10 anymore, people are not going to bother with vehicles that are minus the engine and transmission. So
Right.
it should stand to reason if you're starting at that point, if the engine turns over, that's definitely a great spot to start. If it doesn't turn over, well, you're going to have to tear that sucker down and begin rebuild.
And your motto again.
The motto, what comes down the road should go like hell.
What comes down the road should go like hell.
Yeah.
That's one to remember. Or when I need to clear my mind without a
Oh,
bottle, I use my throttle.
yep.
We're all about cars here. We're going to actually make the car a mobile unit and do drag stripping at the race track. It's going to
Yep.
be a very cool thing, a very cool live stream, and the first mobile live streamer through a smartphone and laptop setup where we're going to be holstering up and mounting it up and taking safety precautions first and foremost because I don't want the computer to fly out of the freaking dashboard and hit me or him or Princess Faye. Of course, right?
She never really joined me on stuff like that. She knows that.
Oh, well, she can.
I
We
know.
always
Yeah,
try to help her get past that fear.
well, she does. She's not a real big fan of driving. Driving fast. Every now and again, though. When she's behind the wheel, she doesn't mind. So
I mean, like you've been influential steward in concept cars, classic
yeah.
era, and I'm an avid believer of the muscle car era. And do you think that the muscle car era and the homeostasis of that genre ended when they said it did?
Well, right now we're
And
actually
what year was it?
okay. The muscle car era began in 1964 and ended in 1970. There was Last Gaspers, as a matter of fact, the
This
greatest
is
Last
interesting.
Gasper of the muscle car era was none other than the Pontiac Trans Am or Pontiac Firebird. Same vehicle, same
Mhm.
vehicle. It was the greatest Last Gasper of that era. Now, that being said, 57 Chevy.
You have model cars too, dude.
Actually, my grandmother bought that for me.
Oh, cool. Well, you build model cars too.
Yeah, occasionally. Um, all that being said, yep,
Batmobile.
Batmobile. All of that being said, the first, ironically enough, the very first muscle car was none other than the Pontiac GTO, which was just basically it started off its life.
396, 440.
No, actually, it started its life off as
That's
the
right.
Pontiac Tempest and the Pontiac Le Mans.
Yeah.
They added it in as a performance package, and so it came up as the Le Mans, the Tempest, GTO. You'll see that commonplace. Which, by the way, in 1973, it went. They basically added the GTO package to the Pontiac Ventura because the GTO was going away.
So you're really smart about cars, dude. That's a pretty cool timeline there.
Hmm.
And those sets of cars. Now, the 1964 is when it started, right? Now, did they build in 1964 with the era, or was it 65 when they started building?
I'll be honest.
Anybody
Actually,
know out there if it was a 1964 Buick Riviera? I think my mom knows.
I'll be honest with you. When it comes to Buick, I'm kind of at a loss. I mean, I know
I'm the
there was.
Buick guy.
Yeah, he's the Buick guy. And I will be absolutely honest with all of you. I don't know a great deal of, you know, a great deal of stuff about the Buicks. Now, I know, ironically enough, I know a great deal about Chevrolet. I'm more of a Chevy. I'm more of a Chevy kind of guy. Um, you know, initially. Grew more into Oldsmobile, grew more into Ford now, and believe me when I say I'm very glad that that I got into Fords. But then again, I'm more of a Maverick guy, which that isn't even muscle. But anyhow, real quick, while we're talking about muscle cars, a lot of people talk about the pony cars, which is a
Mustang,
Camaro, Firebird.
Do you know like the new versions, Roush and all the different Cobalt or whatever?
Okay, let me get
Modified
this.
engines and shit.
Let me get this out in the open. There's a lot of people today that think the muscle car era is back, and no, it is not. It is not. We have today the Mustang.
Oh, we're gonna be getting into that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk to you about that.
Yeah, the Mustang, the Camaro, and the Challenger are not muscle cars today. They are sports cars. They're 2+2 seater sports cars, but they fall under a different genre. But again, the muscle car era ended in 1970. I'm sorry if you've got one of these and you wanted to get a muscle car, but if you want a muscle car, you're going to have to buy something from 1964 to 1970. I just wish it was. Until they start putting carburetors back on them, we don't have muscle cars.
Now, is there anybody out there in chat that has any different knowledge? Because if you're gung ho and have something to stand on, which we both do here, and he has researched his cars for a long time, there could be some sort of social interdevelopment within the demographics or municipalities across the
Well,
United States.
Well, see, the difference between a muscle car and what we have today is fuel injection versus carburetor.
Fuel injection sucks though, because it really does not do that well.
Fuel injection, the problem with the, which I know we'll get more and more into, the problem with it is in that ECU. Okay, that's the number one problem.
Don't know how to modify it.
Yeah, you're spitting in the wind.
Yeah.
Okay, when you have a four-cylinder that gets 32 miles to the gallon, and I can get an average of 40 out of my six-cylinder, we have a problem. Okay.
So, I mean, that's really cool. You have all that knowledge. You're smart about that. In your extensive experience, um, of every change occurring within all these timelines, whether historically or technologically innovational, what is applied into conceptual changes in the manufacturing processes?
Okay. Uh, the number one problem that most manufacturers suffer today, and it's been a problem forever and a day, when an engineer sits down and designs an engine, okay, they sit down and design an engine, uh, when they complete it, it is perfect, perfect in every sense of the word, okay, all right. When it goes into production, well, it's not so perfect then. Okay. And the engineer has to figure in levels of tolerances that,
Between all the components
yeah,
integrated,
and
right?
that the engine will still run, but it's not perfect. Okay. They have to figure that in. Um, all that being said, you know, when you buy, I don't care if it's an old car, new car, whatever, that engine is not perfect. That's where you get whenever you start getting into rebuilding engines, you'll hear that term blueprinting. And what that basically means is you're taking that engine right back to
Bring it back to where it was, because something you said that stuck with me was no two cars are the same coming out of production.
exactly.
Even Teslas are like Porsche. They're very, very, very close in schematic and size and stuff like that and displacement, but it changes when you put them together and ride through it with them.
As a matter of fact, that's actually part of the machining process when you get an engine rebuilt. Taking exactly when you talk about the term blueprinting, you're taking it back to exactly as the
Planning.
back to the blueprints for the engine. You're taking it back exactly as the engineer designed. It's amazing.
Now, do you know anything about like foreign trade policies and cars being transported, or not to mention a demographically challenged workforce in America currently, having a lot of municipalities losing their rights with voting and just voting away their rights and ensuring a land of unfreedom with all
Okay.
kinds of things that are going on here. What do you think about that?
Okay. The first thing that has to happen when it comes to the automotive industry is the United States only uh, puts together the vehicles. Most everything is pretty well made in a foreign country, which is a crying shame because, to give you an example, one of the greatest 2+2 seater sports cars, it's been around since 1964 and a half, none other than the Mustang, okay? And it is the original pony car. It is the original 2+2 seat sports car. Okay. All that being said, uh, up until 2016, the only thing that was still being manufactured in this country was the running stallion, the emblem that went on the grill, the horse, if you will.
Wow. Well, like Teslas are built here in Fremont and like different, like Dumbarton, California.
Right.
Isn't there a
They're built here, but
Ford
where
or
is
Chevy down in like Tennessee?
well, there is, but where are the parts being manufactured for them to assemble those parts in Kentucky for like the Corvette? And that is, let's see,
Let me make the for you, buddy.
All righty.
Small mom. Hold on, mom. She's got a really cool comment. Corey Heltzel says, I like Chevys with a 354 bolt main. Hey there, this is mom, and I do like Chevys. I like the 57 with a big 454 in them too.
Well, and we'll get more into talking about this. I know you've got a bunch of questions, and I'll talk about the interchangeability of the old GMs that I really wish that GM would get back to, because that is a number one issue with them today, is they're not staying with those policies that they used to have in place that made them such an amazing automotive juggernaut.
GM. It's kind of like an offset of Chevy, right?
Well, GM is the umbrella corporation, if you will, that handles Chevrolet, Pontiac, Oldsmobile, Saturn, Buick, Cadillac, Holden,
Hey,
Opel.
mom, do you remember Moldy Pudding? Remember the Moldy Pudding? And the El Camino that we put the swimming pool in the back?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, right now, the number one issue that is facing this country is that we're not building the cars here. Well, we're not making the parts here. We're making them in China. And, it's actually hurting us. Well, and we could talk all day long about what goes on there. But in reality, I mean, it all boils down to the fact that Americans don't realize that we don't make those here. And ironically enough, a lot of stuff a lot of the Japanese cars are being the parts are being manufactured in this country. So today the Japanese cars are more American than American cars, ironically enough.
Just like how we are. They're coming in and infiltrating culturally.
Yeah, exactly. So Americans need to be aware of this. And I know right now Ford has finally, gotten their heads out of their butt and realizing that that they need to start building stuff here in the United States again. Um, but now that people are becoming more and more aware, also kind of a heads up, they're starting to move stuff to Vietnam now. Well, they're moving it to Vietnam, which is still a communist country.
Wow, that's crazy, dude. All these different beliefs and dictatorships and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Which there's a whole nother level that we could get into that would just blow your mind. Just bear in mind that that car companies need to they need to they need to start bringing the products back to the United States, not just building them here, but we're talking bringing the complete manufacturing back to the United States and to Canada and to Mexico. Okay, especially Mexico, because they really need the work. Okay.
Now about the timeline of the muscle car era ending.
Mhm.
When challenged by someone, were you ever wrong, or did everybody ever try to say different?
Well, see, the funny thing about that is, uh, here it is. Every now and again, even I will make a mistake. Okay, and that's just natural. Okay. Some people will even say, "Oh no, we build muscle cars today. Oh, we still have pony cars today." No, we don't. Again, it boils down to we have, if you will, today what we might consider a muscle car today. The modern day muscle cars, as we might try to call them. Um, they're American tuners with muscle car DNA. If you tear them down, I mean, you'll still see a lot of muscle car characteristics, but the real major difference is that we're talking carburetor versus fuel injection. That's really the major difference. Uh, if you will, when it comes to tuning, a carburetor requires you to use a screwdriver and requires that muscle of turning that screwdriver, whereas tuning requires a computer.
So a little off tangent here. You said that cars are being built internationally with foreign trade policies and all that stuff. So it's like adjacent to it costs money to ship here, right? So Prince Magnum and I are in the works behind the scenes developing a parts transaction database that will 3D print for the technician to install into the vehicle coveted part needed, which will take away a lot of time, the material handler having to go get it, and even having to wait for shipping logistics across overseas.
Well, see, the number one problem is.
What about 3D printing? What do you think about 3D printing?
Well, there's a lot of parts out there for those obscure engines that have kind of faded into history. 3D printing would be an absolute way to get some of those hard to find parts. Provided that the plastics could withstand it.
Well, it's going to be a material that can be
Exactly
substantial and hardened, like carbon fiber. They're printing carbon fiber. They're printing all kinds of cool shit.
And see,
metals.
carbon fiber. A lot of times today, quality carbon fiber, ironically enough, is in a lot of ways just as durable as steel and still lighter. So that's actually
they print that shit out, and they're printing nanotechnology too. It's down to that. So a lot of universities and healthcare directives are utilizing these scalpels and non-demonstrative way to intercept and do surgery, and as well to be able to cut down on costs and have that part readily available so you can ship that car out. I mean, it's going to take so much time off their hands having to travel. If it's a huge facility building cars like 2 miles long, like Tesla, I mean, this guy's going to run down there with a car, you're going to get stuck up in traffic. But the database we're building will navigate you to the part and have it a holographic right up on there. You'll be able to look around, right?
Yep.
And then you'll be able to go, oh, well, GPS, there it is in the box. Or if it's not on handle and the material handlers that's going to get the part makes a mistake, I can just 3D print it right there with the tag. Oh, hold on, just go get another part. I'm going to 3D print it and then mark it down in the database.
See, the number one problem is that because a lot of times you run into that whole thing where for an American car, when you're starting, I've seen now where we're starting to see a lot of cheap Chinese parts. Now, ironically enough, a lot of well, the cool part about what you're discussing is that we're now taking auto parts retailers will have to have no choice but to start looking at American companies again, or otherwise be edged out by the American public. So basically, we are forcing the American market to bring the parts back to the United States. Again, there's a lot of dirty things that happen around the world that I'm just not comfortable with. So.
Right, and it's scary to see all that stuff kind of like supersede and have to like kind of integrate developmentally the dictatorships over there, the social development, you know, with our business policies, like, it's insane. Planning fascism, you know what I'm saying? It's like globalists. So, I mean, moving forward here, what would you think is the right standpoint or perception in the muscle car era, or perception to produce and include the ideology of migration from non-renewable fossil fuels, or vice versa for newer vehicles?
Okay, first thing that has to be said is we discovered the technology to make gasoline obsolete years ago. We discovered that all the way back in Prohibition.
Somehow these people
The man who taught me, ironically enough, the man who taught me how to convert a gasoline engine to run off of White Lightning moonshine. Yeah, the man who taught me.
Drink and drive.
Well, that'd be it. We'll actually.
A car is a dangerous weapon.
It can be.
To all you youngins out there, I'm serious. A car can be used to kill. It is a weapon. You got to be really careful and a good driver. That way you're free and clear and you're defensive and you can move forward.
Well, I have another school of driving that I believe in, but that's another subject for another time.
We are going to drag that Maverick as soon as it comes out with a new flywheel, a freaking starter. We're not telling you what we're doing with it.
Well,
I got the aspiration too. I don't know if he's going to continue.
Project Spirit is currently at a secret location being worked on right now. We will not disclose that location until she's pretty well complete, because a lot of people in this area absolutely love Project Spirit. But anyhow, back to the question.
At 500 subscribers, someone will win this.
You betcha.
Steering wheel cover, easy installation, lightweight construction, with a wood tone grip.
Yep.
Check it out, guys.
Kind of.
You want this?
Kind of.
Share the channel.
It will give you that nice classic look in even your modern car. But anyhow,
so
back to the question at hand. We discovered that way back then. And the number one problem is during the Second World War, the United States became very interested in foreign oil, and of course has caused a lot of problems since that time.
Can this be all this information or backing within, like, a Congress or a voting system be used to pivot swiftly in unison, all of this changing over at one time to renewable energy? Or is it going to keep, are we going to see that?
We're already on that horizon. We're there. Okay.
Flying cars and shit, I heard.
What
do you hear about flying cars, Mom?
Flying cars is great and all, but we need to focus first on getting away from fossil fuel technology for internal combustion engines.
Yep.
Well, even before
Patent Prince Magnum and Jonathan Heltzel, Antitrust Industries.
Well, even before you can even get to that, you still got to get rid of the gasoline initially. And we have the technology. We've always had that technology. And let me just say it like this. And anyone who's ever worked on a carbureted engine will completely get what I'm about to say. Quarter turn, quarter turn, quarter turn. That's all it takes.
Right. It's very easy to work on a carburetor.
Well, it's easy to work on a carbureted system. What did I just say? Well, if you have a 4-barrel carburetor, carbureted engine, quarter turn on each mixture screw, and retard the spark advance 1/4. Well, a quarter turn. Right? Yeah. Well, and you can run White Lightning moonshine right through your gasoline engine.
You gotta be careful of deposits, though, because they may fire more hot than the gas, and it could potentially cause issues to fire. Because if you put too much in and don't have it controlled on demand,
that's why you
on demand.
Well, that's why you cut the fuel quarter turn for your carburetor. Oh. That's where the quarter turn. And then if you're worried about heat problems, which that could be an issue, you just change the thermostat out from a 180 to a 160. Problem solved.
Or also, if the manufacturers wanted to bring these classic car concepts back without having to change the body much, or the utilities and tooling or hardware or components in the car from when it was back in the day, they could manufacture the parts way cheaper than they are now with all this electronic stuff they put in it, and have just as good of a car running probably 20 miles per hour a gallon, or 20 miles per gallon faster, or that spectrum.
Again, we discovered fuel economy back in the 70s. Okay. And what I'm about to say, I mean, some people have a hard time understanding this because the quality control in the 1970s was horrible. But if you got a good one, okay, let me give you an example. I had a 1977 Oldsmobile Delta 88, and if you ever seen, Google it after the video,
or now you can.
But the 1977 Oldsmobile Delta 88 was a heavy tank of a car. I mean, this thing was a boat. All it lacked was the sail. Seriously.
Wow, I got you.
Okay. It was a big car. But in stock form with a solid tune-up, the carburetor running right, and with the timing dead on, you could achieve about 25 miles to the gallon on the highway. I know, I did it. Okay.
Well, in saying that too, since you know how these little tricks of the trade, was this guy's really knowledgeable about the whole inner workings of a damn car, and since you're able to install the cold air intake and attenuate gas usage and make it a more fuel economy car, we could install hydrogen fuel cells into that as a service because we're also sponsored by HHOKitsDirect.com, by the way. We'll put that link up after with the video.
Well, even if you don't want to,
It's still you go up to like 300% plus because of the type and condition of the vehicle. Delta 88s and carburetor car systems go up about 130%. But with your knowledge and the actual babying of it, dude, you're gonna be like on the hit list for the FBI.
well, technically, I already have been.
Right? Aren't you a political prisoner of Missouri?
Yes, that's also another subject for another time. We'll talk more about that in another stream. But yes, it's one of those things that gas. We discovered it in the 1970s. That's why currently our government is actually trying to rewrite the history books and say that the
Mandela effect.
well, is try to say that the muscle car era ended in 1980, and no, it didn't. We know better. That's why. That's why they are saying that. Okay.
They're rewriting history because they think they can do anything they want to do and rewrite history and tell us that it's the Mandela effect.
Wrong. It's them trying to rewrite history because they want to take the fuel efficient carburetors away from the American public.
Yeah. Damn, Beavis. So do you think fossil fuels are a main catalyst to wars?
Well, look at all the problems in the Middle East. As a matter of fact, this is public domain. Okay, most people don't even look this stuff up.
The Missouri highways are from the German Autobahn, and they built it.
That doesn't surprise me. But we'll go one step further. And I feel really bad having to say this, but because a lot of good men and women served during this time. As a matter of fact, my in-laws served during this time frame and were there. They were the first Persian Gulf War. Why did Saddam Hussein invade Kuwait? We were always told because he needed a water
rabbit hole.
We were always told because he was looking for a water port to export oil for Iraq. That's what we were told. But come to find out, and this is public domain, that the United States
invading like Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah, and what it really amounted to was the United States had went into Kuwait and had undermined, basically tapped a pipeline that went down into the earth, did a 90-degree turn, and traveled inside Iraq and was illegally stealing oil from Iraq. That's why Saddam Hussein...
Well, you know what? I mean, that's cool and all scientifically, but like, imagine BP, dude, the oil spills. There's 3 huge holes, like 88 miles wide or something like that. And it's like, or no, 88% of the wildlife in the ocean is getting killed off. Freaking whales are washing up on shore with bags, Walmart bags, up in their shit, dying with oil up in it.
Well,
congestive heart failure.
Let's go one step further. If you will, again, we've had the technology to rid the world of fossil fuels. We know this, okay? And we're even going so far as talking about the E85 fuel, which could...
Ethanol, right?
Yeah, they're using basically a corn-based alcohol, and we're told that it could have... No, actually, what they're actually trying to tell us is it's 85%. The corn-based ethanol, which it can have as little as 10%. So basically, behind your back, we're still seeing gasoline used when we need to be getting away from it. Okay.
Why would we do that?
Why would we do that? So we can continue to have wars in the Middle East, keeping it unstable.
Well, not to be argumentative, but to conversate, isn't that bias?
It's not biased because if we keep the Middle East unstable, the oil market unstable, we can control the prices and we control them high.
See, then again, there's a whole nother tangent and aspect to government and Congress because there are secret societies also building cars, manufacturing, doing their own type of way of life that are in secrecy and that are infiltrating a lot of aspects of our, global policies, our business policies. I mean, not to mention the relocation of fly-by-night businesses that just appear and then leave, and then ghost towns appear. And like we need to help people with technology intelligence and their learning curve, and that demographic factor. So those things are not occurring. We're binding together with the information that we know, so we save money. We don't want to spend a bunch of money on these new technologies unless they're already put in place to save you money, like a holographic database, instead of building a whole damn car and redesigning it all and tearing the world apart to build the metal engine 100,000 cars every 3 months.
Well, again, the cars that we get today, ironically enough, are designed to fail you after 7 to 10 years in optimal conditions.
See, and that's the same thing with computers too. It's called conglomerate investment in the aspects of operating system environments and automobile centrifuge technology.
Let me go a step further. Under Barack Obama, we had the cash for clunkers, and we're still seeing the effects of it. The cash for clunkers is designed to take away the classic cars. Okay, Project Spirit is a survivor of the cash for clunkers. Yeah, she's ready for historical play. She's long since earned it. I mean, come on, 44 years old and still rocking out there. Okay.
Yeah, that's been a reliable vehicle.
Yeah, I've been rocking that baby now. We've had her nearly 4 years now, and yeah, she might go down for a good stretch, but she always comes back bigger and badder than ever before. Every time she goes down for a while. So I love Project Spirit. Again, I'm not a huge Ford fan, but ironically enough,
I like Fords too. I like the Ford economy cars, like the Ford 350, F350, 250. I won't go down to 150, but those I like those because they just come fresh out of the manufacturing facility, and they're good cars.
Well, if you get your hands on the older Ford F-150s, they'll last you forever. And again, when you start talking inline sixes and those old Ford F-150s, they're amazing, long lasting. They'll last you. The dang bodies will rust right off the frame, and the dang engine will still be going. Again, in this.
Hi, Dakota. You guys have fun watching the grizzly bears.
Oh,
Great Bear Stakeout. The Great Bear Stakeout. The bears with espionage, third echelon, cooperative missions. Mission Impossible.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt you there. That was very interesting to hear, and the development of why we're having wars, and how to switch back and forth swiftly, and do not back and forth, straight up into renewable energy. How many people do you think perceive in a social construct the misinformation? How many people think are being lied to about what we're talking about here, and how it preys on somebody who just bought a lemon or a car that is a new car that only lasts 7 to 10 years and knows not really anything about their vehicle, and before you know it, broke down, just as their learning curve about the car ends.
Well, the number one problem.
Hey, Joker.
Hey, what's up, Joker? The number one problem with today is people don't know how to maintain a vehicle. That's the problem. Nobody knows how to maintain a vehicle. Again, back to that old analogy. If you asked me as a young hot rodder in the old days, what did I think people neglected the most? I usually said oil, tune up, and maybe tires. Okay. Today, the list starts and it does not stop. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how little people know what it takes to keep a vehicle running. Um,
Fluids, preventive maintenance.
well, even today, even the manufacturers make it next to impossible to even check those fluids today.
They encapsulate them and shut them out and make them, what is it?
Sealed systems. To give you an idea, Project Lena, a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am
It's going
GT.
to require you to get the part in a hole, right?
There's actually a spot where you have to remove this little cap and you have to almost make like a funnel system just to get down there to top off the automatic transmission. And the number one, if you will, back in the day, we used to just pull a dipstick. And then if we needed to top it off, you can put a funnel right in the top of the hole for the dipstick. And you just poured it in what you needed in.
Sorry, I cut you off with the Pontiac GT 500.
No, the Pontiac Grand Am GT. The Pontiac Grand Am GT. And she does have the GT package with the ram air induction on a 3.4 liter V6. And this is an automatic transmission that has no dipstick to check those levels.
Well, don't they use? Well, that's the different department. The deck's cool, but it's cool. Wow, you can't change the oil in it?
Well, no, you can change the oil in it, and you can still do a transmission service. You just can't check the level, or you got to know what you're doing. You have to pull that cap and know exactly how much is supposed to be in there.
So these are proprietary systems, and it's no doubt that it's historical evidence, and it's displaying demonstrative aspects and succession in alternate energies, per se, marks, and even some of the most strongest and reliable muscle cars, and even some of the fastest cars in the world.
Okay, we're going to go back in history. Okay, and this is where technology can meet the old cars of yesteryear. Yeah. Okay. Back in the day, we had, if you're going to talk about top speed, I don't care how much horsepower you pour into an engine, okay? Your top speed is only going to be as good as your final drive in the rear end and your final drive, well, basically, in the transmission, okay?
They're both set because what grinds out the shaft breaks.
Well, see, we'll go back to that Olds Delta that I had. Yeah, the Olds Delta that I had, and it was a. What?
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Too, it takes a mint to keep your car running right.
Not necessarily, but we'll talk a little bit more about that.
She's hitting on the aspect of how proprietary systems in place.
It takes.
You got to either buy it apart or know how to work on that.
I was going to say, today it is next to impossible to maintain a vehicle the way that you want it to. Exactly. It's ridiculous. But if you take, like, say, we'll go back to that 1977 Oldsmobile Delta 88 with a stock Chevrolet 350 turbo automatic transmission with only sinking in at that time when it still had its original Chevrolet 350 in it. When you went back to that, okay, we're talking when you went back to the original stock engine, I think it was only rated at like 150 horses at the rear wheels, but I was getting a top speed of about 140 miles per hour, and I was averaging 25 miles to the gallon on the highway.
Jeez, don't go that fast. Right out of hell. If I was in the car, I'd be like, oh my God. Okay, if we ever go that fast in the car, we got to be on a straightaway at the drag strip, and you're going to make me do the dollar test ride. Reach for that dollar, and I can't get to it. Right?
Well, see, again, So, and the trim characteristics, if you will, the aerodynamics of a 77 Oldsmobile Delta 88 falls under the category of a brick. Okay. It wasn't aerodynamic. It wasn't, it was meant to be stylish, not aerodynamic. And if I was getting that kind of gas mileage out of it, so, again, you could look at a computer readout in your modern day vehicle and it's telling you, oh, you're getting this X amount of gas mileage. I hate to tell you this, no, it is not, because of the fact that the ECU is telling you what the manufacturer wants you to believe.
And all the carbon emissions from the gasoline being used, it's got carbon footprint all up in it, just destroying the atmosphere, and every component in the car just smog. It's like, okay, dude, go water, go oil, go moonshine. Like, do something that burns clean instead of destroying the hell out of our ozone and it's making it unlivable for all of the whole world.
I'm gonna blow your mind right now. Okay.
You already have, bro. That's amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind right now.
I'm ready. I'm strapped in.
Okay. Back in the 1960s, during the height of the muscle car era, which the real height was 1970. That's when the real freaks of nature came out. It didn't matter if you were at idle, cruising, or going 90 to nothing. You were losing 60% of your gas
out the
exhaust. 60%. Do you know how much you lose today out the exhaust of your modern day vehicle?
We'll give you a second.
60%. It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed because of the social indoctrination, the working environment, and the recent events documented of social corruption by way of militant process or methods that are symbiotic encroachment of underground social constructs. Technology, intelligence, learning curve, demographic, factor theory.
Well, in a nutshell, what you're actually saying is, we're being lied to.
Right? You get ripped off, man.
You're getting ripped off at the pump.
So, I have something here that you were telling me the other day. You used, in the 1975 Ford Maverick, 2.87 gallons of gas at $2.63 a gallon. At the start of the trip, you went 57,952 miles. And at the end, you ended up with 58,054 miles. At 55 to 65 miles a gallon, you said that you used 35.47 miles per gallon. And this is after did you tune it before or after?
That was before I even made any modifications to the car. All I did was a tune-up and an oil change.
Wow.
Again,
35 miles of the gallon. That's highway driving too, though,
yeah,
because you said your destination was right off the highway. When you came
back. That's straight up highway driving.
How many miles is that? 1,000?
No, 101.8 miles in that video. And we went back later and I had to do a little bit of math on it. After the modification.
I'm looking at like, what the heck?
That's actually equivalent. That's actually better than an EcoBoost 4-cylinder today.
We got like 7 or 8 miles to the gallon in the Buick Riviera, Mom. Remember when Grandma was speeding through Colorado at like 110 and we went to Tina's wedding and the guy passed us and cut her off and she's like, you stupid bung! Tina's wedding, or your grandma had just bought her new Buick LeSabre. I told him about this multiple times.
Yeah.
And we were going 110.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going to Colorado with Uncle David, the car broke down. And I had farted in the car, and it was like super bad, right? And he was like, "That's rude, man. You need to like learn how to like tell somebody or like open the window." Speaking of being in a car environment, but yeah, we would haul ass. My grandma would be like, "I'm gonna just drive in the car." She just did a big, huge, body, and it was still those good. 93 was the year of the car.
Yeah. And that was on the OBD1 setup. Which manufacturers change that up willy-nilly.
Right. So that was an OBD1.
Yeah.
And so something broke down in the ignition module area.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. And so we had to wait 2 days to get it sent to us. When we could have just 3D printed it because we had the technology at the time. No, but Uncle David had to spend another $100 at Super 8, and you know we went swimming though, and had McDonald's. He always took me to McDonald's and stuff. And Uncle David had Blazers, 4x4 Blazers.
You know, one thing this country does still put together very nicely is four-wheel drive pickups. That is no question about that. This country still puts together amazing four-wheel drive trucks.
Joker was doing a video with his daughter earlier. Right on, man. Did you do face paints? I always advocate face paints for kids so that way they're not seen by other people on the internet. Unless that's okay with them, you know, supervised.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay, so
I mean, listen to this, bro. 600 miles an hour, testing and development right now to travel in a tube all the way across over to England from the East Coast. What do you think about that? Tesla.
Well,
flying cars.
Well, see, and I have nothing against Tesla, except that I will never buy a car that doesn't come with an alternator.
It is a big old alternator. It's just one big alternator smartphone.
And well, when you go, and I don't care if it's a Tesla, which you've told me, you know, told me that Tesla is pretty smart about this,
Yes.
but.
What they're planning and development and the break and roll do when they put that on the big metal wheel and they're like, we go up to 160 miles an hour, like, yeah! And you can hear it go, woo! Like, it was amazing.
Well,
they robots build them and stuff.
Tesla has some issues with their maintenance on the vehicles.
The maintenance do break down, however, if you take care of the knowledge, sometimes the inner systems, like where a consumer cannot get to the part, well, they'll have to bring it in to the maintenance department because they have to take the car all apart just to get to that part.
And thankfully, Tesla has been very smart about supporting the vehicles after they're bought.
Well, you know, I recently, well, about 2 or 3, maybe 4 months ago, I seen on the news, well, I don't know if it's true or not, a Tesla becoming susceptible to fire and blowing up in the battery because something fell from the top of the semi-truck load and hit the car. And so, but it didn't blow up then. He crashed the car, right? And it saved his life. The car saved his life. Like, it has all this life safety precaution. It's amazing. Okay. I mean, if you were to fall off a darn 3-mile cliff, you'd probably be okay. But after about an hour and a half of it sitting there, it caught fire.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing a lot of maintenance, and they have the facilities for you to take the cars to the maintenance facilities. However, if you're not in the energy crisis demographic, then you're shit out of luck because we don't have energy problems over here. California does.
Yeah. Which, but the rest of the car companies, I will say right now, when you go to buy a new car, do yourself a favor. When the sales rep is giving you the bells and whistles deal, ask him this one question. And you're going to have a big laugh about this, but ask them, will you provide software updates while I'm paying this car off for the next 5 to 7 years?
No. As a salesman, he's going to think of other options for you to get that done. Saying, yeah, well, our company will represent that and give you that support, but you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
unless you buy this,
it's usually not included in the warranty. So you're getting ripped off. Okay. And I'll give you an example. I actually,
song was on I-5.
Oh.
I fell in love with a girl with blonde hair in a Trans Am on the way home.
I get it. But anyhow, I won't mention the dealership that I went to, but I went to this particular dealership, and you'll have a good laugh about this. When I went to the dealership, I asked the question, would you guys provide the software updates for this vehicle, while I'm buying it? And they kind of gave me a sideways glance. I actually worked at a radio factory making radios for Chrysler, BMW, the Harley Davidson Road King, and I even got to make a few for Ferrari. Yeah, big stuff there. Yeah.
Got to change oil on a couple Ferraris and Porsche and like $300,000 cars.
But to go along with that, while I was working in the Chrysler cell, which also made the radios for Ferrari,
you guys writing all this down?
They had
quiz you on this stuff.
They had these discs that would come in, and what it was is these discs were part of the programming for the software for these radios. And basically, every time you turned around, there was a new disc. So that meant that the software developers were still were still working on it. And here's the sad part: the people that bought the earlier models didn't even know that they didn't have the software update.
Well, okay, that's true. Now, the communication factor between the stakeholder and the developer is very important. However, there will be updates to the database development lifecycle in a software or firmware. So it changes. It will change throughout the life of the database program. Once it reaches a version that is stable and they have tested it and tinkered it all the way, like the homeostasis we were talking about earlier with the components and how it built, no car is the same. Well, the programming can only get, well, let me switch that around. The hardware in the car can only get as good as it's going to get. It's not going to perform any more than it will. So you can, and then there are, again, performance benchmarks that the software and computer will read. And so that needs to be either boosted or attenuated according to the developer and stakeholder communication. Database development lifecycle.
But see, then again, while you're saying that, how many times do you think the dealers would mention that?
See, they didn't have that knowledge, and knowing that spectrum too is a integral and quintessential element to world-class retention and customer service representation. Knowing 10% or more of the product knowledge while being able to get somebody to like you and joke around, because that's what sales is. You need to be 90% of the sale. You need to sell yourself and then know 10% of the knowledge, because they're just going to go, oh yeah, like sheep. But if you're a inquisitive car developer, conceptually, like Prince Magnum here, then you're going to be answering those questions, and you want to have that platform of questions and knowledgeability in the car's infrastructure before you buy. More informed decision.
And I will say, and just reiterate, make sure that you're getting the real package deal before you buy a new car. Or you could just skip all of that and just get yourself a classic and build it how you want it to be.
Well, see, there you go again. Now, urgency is going to take place in a lot of that influential creation and development when conveying to your audience. So with you here at Prince Magnum HQ, you the viewer, he's going to tell us what his ultimate mission is with all of this knowledge that he has. He's very intelligent with this and how to slipstream vehicles, and then also being very analytical about any type of renewable energy that goes into the vehicle, because you don't really need it at the point of 65 miles a gallon. However, if you want to blow it out of the water, what do you think about that? What do you think about it? How's that going to wrap in and conceptualize for yourself to the viewers and audience?
Okay. Again, we discovered fuel economy back in the 1970s. The two most major innovations that made that possible was the improvement of carburetor technology. It was,
which we can
probably, and the most important crucial piece to that whole setup was electronic ignition. Notice I didn't say digital. We have digital ignition today, which is patched into an ECU and all that other crap.
You fingerprint.
But
Biometrics.
but electronic ignition, because you can actually take the old electronic ignition, just like you'll find in Project Spirit or in that 77 Olds Delta 88, or in my old 1978 Camaro, or vehicles all the way up. They started phasing out the electronic ignition in 1993. We started seeing that go away, probably even before that. But I know Mustangs started seeing that stuff go away in like 1993. All that being said, okay, let me say that was probably one of the most important things that happened, because those systems were durable, long lasting, were easy to tune and get dead on, and they were upgradable.
So you're all about your mission in creating a society that knowledgeable about the cars and knowing how to work on them, do the preventive maintenance. So I mean,
Even if we don't right this second get away from fossil fuel technology, you're still being ripped off at the pump. So why not take where you're right now, currently you might be dumping 60% of your fuel out of the tailpipe. Why not make it better? Because if you burn more of that fuel inside the combustion chamber before it reaches, it gets dumped out into the atmosphere, why not maximize it and improve your performance and your fuel economy by burning it in the combustion chamber?
Ultimately going to put the money back in your pocket.
Exactly.
We are in development behind the scenes with another project with hydrogen fuel cell technology. We are going to be implementing hydrogen fuel cells into a perpetual energy system, and it's going to be a biodome. It's gas, food, and water from oxygen, and we have written it down. We've got it going. We're patenting that here on our intellectual property, and bringing that to fruition. That we are going to be some of the most implementative, historical transitioning and paradigm shifts of our time. And we want to reach out to anyone that wants to, support that and help us out in getting the devices and helping us learn the education, and even to continue our education, maybe get even ASE certified and all the car conduits.
Well, see, and the vehicle that I would absolutely love to do this with would be, say, like an old school F-150 with a 306 cylinder, because those things were massively powerful. And ironically enough, those 306 cylinders, as great as they are, they're gas hogs. So why not take one of those and turn it into a fuel efficient, where we're talking,
just get a Dodge Viper with a V12 in it, and then we can go 800 miles an hour down the road squirting.
Well, why not pick something that would help keep, say someone like a farmer, because those are great farm trucks.
What's up, Pay TV? Welcome back.
Hey, PTV, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
We are doing a revolutionary interview with the pioneer of concept cars, well, in the classic era, up to new types of vehicles.
And so, I mean, personally, I would love to see the alcohol fuel technology really take off, because the emissions is actually very minimal. Alcohol happens in nature anyways. It is our next rocket fuel source. We have actually found a comet, a very weird one that's in space. I forget which one.
I'm sure that SpaceX is going that out too.
Yes, this particular comet, its propulsion comes from alcohol.
Wow! So it's flying and pushing itself.
Yep, it's its one-stop shop. Its fuel is alcohol, and it's doing it in space. Wow.
So hot rods and carburetor powered fuel systems are your main interest, and as a reputable and experienced hot rod enthusiast, of your mission for the viewers out there.
Okay.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Mom. Not my mom, but, you know, I still treat her like it.
She's
You know?
Mom.
Yeah, she's mom. You know, if you will, the first thing that you need to understand is it doesn't matter what time frame you get your carburetor.
What
Preferably,
about if it's EFI? What if somebody don't want to go carburetor?
well, even EFI.
Is
Okay.
it smart to do that?
I'll be honest with you. You better have someone who knows their stuff, or you yourself better know your stuff. You're going to be messing with the EFI.
Or the MAF sensors.
And a lot of the problem with that is that even the aftermarket stuff has a lot of stuff that you really, it's like, you know, you better have a good, solid computer programmer. And I would say right now, a carburetor, you can buy about, I think in today's market, about 3 4-barrel carburetors before you can buy one fuel injection system. So as far as cost effectiveness, carburetors are still cheaper and they're more reliable than you would imagine. And if you, the number one thing that I will say right now when it comes to carburetor technology is most hot rodders will just slap the biggest one that they can on their engines, and then you wonder why when they're coming through.
Oh, the fuel's going up in there.
Well, let me give you an example. I've actually seen a guy who he ended up blowing up the engine because of this. He washed
bias.
he washed the compression rings off the pistons and wondered why he was dumping fuel into the dang oil. And before he knew it, he locked the engine up because of this stupid stunt. But he took a kind of he took a Chevrolet 383 stroker engine, which is a custom engine, and he put a 650 CFM carburetor on there when he only had a 9-to-1 compression ratio, and a 600 CFM would have been more than
ratio.
Too much carburetor. Moron.
We are going to be doing some Q&A with the Trust Incorporated and Prince Magnum Maverick Nation. We're multicasting on Discord, Twitter, Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, and plethoras of other gaming platforms. We will be right back with you. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing Q&A after and asking a couple more questions, if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't.
Taper off onto that and do a Q&A. And
any questions that you all might have for me, don't be afraid to ask them, especially on cars.
Right? We'll be right back.
Welcome to the SketchSquadTV, Antitrust Incorporated, Content Creator Community TV. We are interviewing the innovational, inspirational, visionary, and educator of preventive maintenance in carburetor and electronic-centric fuel systems and conceptual classic automobile enthusiasts and consumer consultant within development fuel management. The honorable and reputable automotive educator, consultant of community development, public speaker, and karaoke singer / entertainer in the art of magic and firearms expert. Master of magic, sleight of hand, historian, and aspiring theologist. Cross-trained as an occupational therapist, 13 years of extensive hands-on medical experience, CNA certified, retired as a CNA, CMT with insulin certification and CPR. 13-year Alcoholics Anonymous recovering addict. You are empowered, bro. You're the proprietor of this classic concept car ideology. You're the hot rod extraordinaire and coined the most romantic husband in St. County. Prince of the Maverick Nation. So, my friend, lastly, but not least, what other messages, let me turn that down, messages or Nostradamus-centric predictions do you have? Or what share and influence on your belief to convey to new and existing viewers the actual demise of non-renewable fossil fuels?
Well,
When is it going to die?
When?
Will we see it?
Yes, and I imagine we're going to see it in my lifetime. Okay. The reality of it is as people tune in to Sketch Squad TV and the Prince Magnum channel, we will begin to see. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. We will begin to see people become more and more aware that that as long as we're fighting for foreign oil, there's going to be wars. And I'm myself, I have a brother who currently is in the U.S. Army, a staff sergeant who has already done a couple of tours in the Middle East. I would love to see him not have to worry about his next tour.
I firstly thank your brother, you said, for being a integral asset to our freedom. And however, the stopping of wars is, I think, a little detrimental to our security because one, I think that this is my opinion. If you don't stop people from doing bad things, they're going to continue to do them, and they're going to bleed over into here. And that's what huge, commanders and developers of this type of community and governments have done. Have been to take the risk and go take them because they're gonna kill them. You know what I'm saying? Population control, bro. We got to own this land. It's getting too close, dude. So that's happening constantly on this planet. And I think a lot of the paradigm shift has to do with the time and space and dimensions not of this world, which have been, kind of hidden from us since the Roswell, not Area 51. And ever since then, there has been supposedly reverse engineering of their alien technology, which is making a holographic technology come to fruition. What do you think about that?
I've heard that one myself, but I'm going to go a step further with you. Let me say right now, and I've mentioned this before on the Prince Magnum channel, and I'll go ahead and mention it again here today again. Let me say right now that many people do not realize that, we talk about, occasionally we talk about Nazi Germany here on the Prince Magnum channel.
Godwin's Law.
And let me ask you the ultimate question. We know that Nazi Germany was suffering a much greater depression than we were in the 1930s, and all
Oh
of a sudden,
yeah, it was horrible, dude. It was still like olden days where people had the HMs with the fucking food and shit running all the bio waste, right?
more or less,
Horrible.
the economy was so horrible that they were taking their paper currency and using it as wallpaper because it was that worthless.
Or toilet paper.
Yeah.
I mean, society and local demographics are currently being influenced
And
by
then,
a lot of government entities, including Russia and Asia, cultures and governments. And this information I'm getting from, more metaphysically than anything, and seeing and these particular individuals include a demographic infiltration of our economy, including the way we build cars and the standpoint and just lack of engagement for the any controlled substances too. That all that foreign trade policy, it's just killing people, man. It's a bad implement on our living.
it's bad juju all the way around. Okay, let me say right now.
Right to bear arms, barracks up.
Yeah. Let me say right now, if you take a look at Nazi Germany going through the Great Depression, that they were even more so than we were in the 1930s. All of a sudden, under Adolf Hitler, almost overnight, they come out of it and they're a global juggernaut.
That's insane.
How did they do that?
Because they encapsulated and did espionage. The belief system in those groups are basically their way of lives are being forgotten. Their moral compasses and ethics and family views are being taken from unethical morals with divisions of these cultures. It's just a war from the inside.
Actually, I'm going to just drop the bombshell again. What it really boiled down to was it was American companies that invested in Nazi Germany and put Adolf Hitler in power.
Hodgman's law. Look it up, guys.
To go along with that,
Dang, that's crazy.
in the 1950s, Henry Ford sued the United States government for bombing some of his factories in Nazi Germany.
That's social corruption by way of military process.
Oh, and he won.
Methods to encroach the state level with a secret organization indifferent to belief systems of Anonymous and the Illuminati. Community council in these areas where technology intelligence is at a record low, being that our social construct is becoming completely careless of loved ones and family needs and beliefs. In this secret demographic injustice theory, technology's ability to comprehend is null, disregarded, expecting the people to complete insufficient works or developments that are already in place of social injustice. When you buy a phone or computer, they're broken because you can't access half the phone and your battery life sucks because it's slow. And you use a bunch of, there are ways to fix that stuff. Just like there are ways to fix these cars, like 3D printing right now, put it into action. It's going to start saving us money and time. Elon Musk, for instance, will be able to transition because their mission, their motto is changing the world from non-renewable resources to new renewable resource, renewable energy. And so that's a really cool aspect I think that company has.
Well, and I'm going to go a step further with that. When you take away the supply and demand of something that causes corruption, you get rid of the corruption.
Morals of union and influence of controlled channels, not limited to pursuing individuals being threatened on more just on a singular experience or occurrence, militant civil war, home invasions. It goes really deep. It's really deep.
I'm going to go a step further. Okay. With the gas prices the way they are, and the problems with the rising food costs and things like that, I'm going to say something now.
Foreign trade policy, letting people in that have Ebola.
Yeah, basically.
Why don't you let them go to the grocery store?
Yeah.
The CDC said it's safe. It's not airborne.
Well, I'm going to go a step further with this. Okay. And I'm going to coin a famous musician who actually said this. He said, "Money is not the root of all evil. The lack of money is the root of all evil." Do you know who actually said that?
Henry Ford?
No. Famous musician.
It's not Henry Ford is not a musician, and I call myself a musician.
Okay.
Don't tell me. Charlie Daniels.
No. Gene Simmons of Kiss. Genius. Genius. He's absolutely, he's like, he even said, when's the last time you seen a millionaire go in and hold up a 7-Eleven?
Right, they're well off. They're not trying to get money. I mean, if anybody knows anything about Hebrew and Christianity and religions and the inter communities of that and the happenings of what's been going on with our social injustice and what am I trying to say? Countries invading other countries. It's there's a lot of money involved, and mammon is one of the terms, which is an entity of greed. And it's kind of like these people that are greedy are definitely indifferent and adjacent to the government processes and want to go under the radar and don't even care if they're like incarcerated or adjudicated because they're spies. And it's put into place. Their family could be, being threatened, or their lives could be being threatened, or they could be being paid a lot of money. Um, you know, uh, it's implemented into the social injustice is unimaginable. It's crazy.
Well, again, the main purpose of the Prince Magnum channel is to find greener technologies, or at least make the current technology that we have for powering automobiles. Uh, Basically, our main goal is to make even the classic cars greener than what they.
Back to the drawing board. You need to engineer a carburetor that may be having some, uh, you know, impedances and wavelengths to have to go through it, or sensors or something like that.
We did that already.
I know, but we didn't have the technology to actually.
Are you sure about that?
What year was it?
Well, back in the
Well, not for those companies. It was not regulated to them. It's been hidden by the government.
Well, I'm going to tell you an interesting story.
Illuminati anonymous functions.
I'm going to tell you an interesting story. Back in the night, there's a particular engineer that, well, I actually talked to a gentleman who spoke with one of the engineers that came in from Detroit from Mopar, Chrysler Corporation. And this was back in like the late 70s. He came in, was kind of talking to some of the people that were building building vehicles at the old Fenton plant. Mm. And this engineer was saying, we have carburetors sitting on a shelf right now that you could get upwards around 40 miles to the gallon out of a 383, a 426 Hemi, the 440.
This imperative knowledge is being like hidden, though. Why are they going into building more stuff electronically? You can implement some sort of like hydrogen or Everclear or whatever to help that electricity system, and changing back to carburation.
Well, the carburation is easy to tinker with. If you got a carburetor, and we started to talk about this earlier. Again, the number one, if you look at the carburetors on the inside of the cars that made the muscle car era, they look like they belonged on a tractor, but yet we were able to pull out the power that we did from high compression. Well, the compression ratios dropped dramatically after 1970. Wow. Okay? Mm-hmm. To give you an example of how much compression started dropping, the numbers started dropping. In 1970, the 454 LS6 was rated at 450 horses, which is a monster. Well, by 1971, the same LS6 was only putting out 425. The numbers started dropping.
Because they were doing some sort of feng shui between the components and the ECU.
Well, no, there was no ECU yet.
Okay, it was carburation.
It was carburation. And see what it was.
Had to be at some sort of.
The compression ratios of the engine started dropping, and and I know I'm talking compression.
On average because of altitude.
Well, no, it was just across the board. All of them suffered. Huh. Okay, and this was because of the EPA. Okay, so we're going to go a step further now. Okay, with this, if for those who do not know, okay, for those who are not in the know, when I'm talking compression ratio, basically as the piston comes up, it compresses the fuel and air, and then the spark is released and blowing the piston back down. It has to compress that fuel and air to a certain point where it'll combust. Well, when you talk compression ratios and you hear me say, say 10 to 1 or 9 to 1. Well, that 10 to 1, it's 10 parts fuel to 1 part of air.
They need more air.
Well, it does. You can pump in more air all day long, but you're still going to be using that 10 parts. So
unless you have some sort of additive or hydrogen or
well,
alcohol.
but then you're still dumping 60% of your gasoline right out of the tailpipe.
However, if you have the mod chip that delegates the electronic fuel injection,
well, you're talking electronic fuel injection. If you talk,
well, it could be an electronic fuel injection integrated into a carburetor somehow.
Well, we already discovered that all you have to do was increase the spark to the spark plugs. That's it. That's all you have to do. As a matter of fact, what gives Project Spirit her extremely high gas mileage is the fact that I added an Excel supercoil to a stock engine and gapped the spark plug slightly wider than what the factory called for. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. And on a good, clear day, we're talking if the conditions are right, I can get all the way up to 64 miles to the gallon on the highway, which is ridiculous.
It is pretty ridiculous.
And yet she'll still outrun a modern day Camaro.
See, I want to go a step further, like you have been doing, and definitely showing me something, and I'm being educated here. But I do think that any type of HHO gas, on-demand electrolysis, which you don't need to store it inside of the fuel cell. It's only used immediately as you need it.
Mm-hmm.
That it would increase and powerhouse all of these cars that are being manufactured today and in the past. It's just gonna 300 miles to the gallon type shit.
Well, and we've talked about this at great length. The systems that we're looking at are, for the most part, pretty safe. And it's just a matter of getting it regulated to work on those old carbureted systems to make them operate on an analog system, which, from my knowledge, it has already happened. So imagine for just a split second.
That conduit, though, it needs to be very, very responsive.
Yeah, and it won't be that hard. It won't be that hard.
You need that free up the systems. There's probably some sort of program eliminating while the other ones start up or are happening. When you run a car in the air conditioning and you're going, that is 2 programs running at the same time.
Well, see, you're talking again. You're back to an analog system. That's I can't stress this enough. We need to just ditch the AC units. They're nothing but problems.
Get an outboard one. Yeah, get an outboard one and buy it from a different company to support the small business, right? Vote against air conditioning. People are like, Phoenix are like, fuck you. It's hot in Phoenix, dude. Even at midnight, I was there. It was 100 degrees.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret about the ones that they put on at the factory. They're horrible. They add all this extra weight, and weight is bad for fuel economy. And as soon as you turn the dang thing on, man, if you just added you might as well just add
took another quarter.
Yeah, basically.
Gallon of your
I actually showed that to Princess Faye with her car. She's like, man, Lena's running sluggish today. I reached over, hit a button, and shut off the air conditioning. Oh my God! She's like, what the heck? I'm like, yeah, honey, yeah, that just happened. And I mean, so if that's any, and they keep trying to say, oh, that's better today. Are you sure? Are you really sure? One of the biggest lies that we've been told to about cars is, oh, they're lighter today. But then when you put them on a scale fully assembled, they weigh more than my old Olds Delta from back in the day. And you're like, wait a minute, how is that lighter? That must be fool's math. No, it's all the extra crap that they put in there and it don't need to be there.
So did you know that Elon Musk won't build motorcycles, which would be a great cash crop for his company, and not only opening up another entity to be able to produce freaking electric powered motorcycles, which would be flying, dude. They'd be going like 300 miles an hour, man. Do you know why he won't build
Wasn't it a motorcycle
He
accident?
got in a motorcycle accident, and he's against it. That's kind
Yeah.
of weird to me.
But ironically enough, you could buy a brand new Harley Davidson and off the factory floor, they're getting 60 miles to the gallon.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, you know, and for the record, I myself, you know, I won't drive a, you know, I won't rock a motorcycle, but if anybody was to twist my arm and say, you know, Indian motorcycles and Harley Davidson because they're still in the U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S., of course. There is a little bit more honesty in local businesses. They're going to stick around. Kind of like our best effort clause, you know what I'm saying? Where we're helping people with the development of their computers or their cars. That, you know, we're there to help educate you. And if we don't know something, we are research hounds. We'll do the due diligence to help that person, not leave them in the dark, just like a local company, you know.
And again, one of the parts of the best effort clause that I will absolutely stress and stress beyond belief is that the Prince Magnum channel and Sketch Squad TV is all about local community. We do support local law enforcement. We do support our fire departments, and we do support our local EMS services.
They're doing a hard job out there. They're saving lives every day, even though that you may have some bad interactions with police officers. They're just trying to direct traffic and things like that. If you will express your civil liberties and give them the information that they need, which of course you don't need to give them your ID unless you're in suspicion of committing a crime or committing a crime. There's those things in red tape.
A lot of times,
they're good people though. Most of them.
Yeah,
there is corrupt stuff going on, but
well, and
most of them are local.
I could take you to a town that has a corrupt police force, but it's about an hour drive away. Okay, which I got to finish that mini
road trip.
Yeah, I got to finish that mini movie. Yeah, I showed you bits and pieces of it already. But anyhow, onward and upward. Again, I know there was another local YouTuber that put down the Bonterra City Police Department. They're good people. It's just one of those things that
last night where I was not very pleasant, and it was not welcome for that to occur, and I was really freaked out. I thought that I was going to be hurt or or killed or something. Man, I don't know this area. I know these people. I'm trying to be a good person, and
you got on the wrong side of the highway.
I was on the wrong side of the tracks last night, dude. I'll tell you what, man. And no, offense meant to anybody, but at the point of you trying to, become the Joker or the Riddler and kill me because of my good intentions and make something up out of the blue, I'm not gonna get into it, but it was not a pleasant experience.
Well, I don't do drugs, kids. Anyhow,
not good.
No. Again, the Prince Magnum channel has been a big supporter of law enforcement for quite a while now, and we will continue to be so, just because of the fact that that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. And if there usually is any corruption, 9 times out of 10, it's usually because there's a politician involved.
And not only that, there's kind of like a learning curve, lack of knowledge within technology. And I'm not even kidding. Within your next door neighbor, if you bind and unite and be in union with the people that are in your local community, because life's short for one. Two, what's going on in the world right now, like the conglomerate embezzlement and the superseding of inceptions of injustice. It's insane.
Well,
what's the coolest car you've ever been in or been around?
Oh man, the coolest car. That would be a 1951 Mercury. The man who taught me that taught me about converting cars over. It was his car, and when I was 16 years old, he took me to this this car show near Caledonia, Missouri, and he just I there was nothing I could say or do because it was just that awesome.
You're off vibe.
Yeah, wow, it was an amazing ride, beautiful black car, and my God, he turned around and sold that car. And we're talking this is the late, mid to late '90s. He sold that car for, ironically enough, about 20 grand. It was that nice. Yeah, it was
I've
beautiful.
been next to a really nice 2018 modified Challenger, 808 horsepower. All those same cars with 15,000 horsepower.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy, dude.
But yeah, but another really cool car that I got to stand next to was in a museum and it was for sale. Was a fully restored 1957 Chevy convertible.
Damn.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful ride. And that car being for sale, this was 1997 when I seen this car, and it. Mhm. Well, that was back in the late 1997. Just imagine what they're worth today. Yeah.
So I have up on board the actual affiliate system. We're sponsored by HGKTrack.com. We haven't been putting this into play. I haven't been putting this into play yet because it hasn't come to fruition. The key to the lock, and this person is the key to the lock because he knows all about carburetor systems and how to slipstream them. And with the integration of the HHF technology, it's going to exemplify a insane exponential increase in gas mileage and putting money back in your pocket. The HHO kits electrolyze the hydrogen. It puts electrolysis to the water and then makes a hydrogen gas. It becomes the combustion catalyst when the hydrogen oxygen gases blend with the normal fuel inside the engine. And on combustion, it makes it burn faster, more thoroughly, and much cleaner. Then when it explodes, it's a little education about it. Simply, it reverts it back into rated steam into that form and cleans the inside of the engine and all the carbon deposits and sludge in the inside of the engine. It's awesome because there's less waste. The energy is extracted where it matters most, inside the engine, where you get that compression. And it goes with our current non-renewable resource of fossil fuel, but this can be integrated standalone by itself with the implementation of corn oil or alcohol, which would be a great and efficient difference.
Even right now,
emissions.
Even right now, with even with E85, it's actually very, very not cost effective. It's actually hurting our economy. Food costs are going up, and we haven't seen any savings whatsoever. As far
We have
as
not seen an influential financial saving of money inside of those concepts or businesses. No, until
do you know why
this comes across.
Well, do you know why we're still losing money on the corn alcohol? I started to talk about this last night.
Well, I would think that could be agricultural impact and the deweatherization or the climate or barometric pressure being messed with by way of our waste.
No, the problem is the processing. Corn is not a good source for this type of fuel. The problem is that it takes more time, more processing, and time is money.
Yes, that is definitely true.
So what would be a better plant source? Something already high in sugar. And what's something that we don't eat that grows extremely easy?
Sugar beets.
Exactly.
Or sugar cane that is indigenous. Sugar beets will grow in the same climate as sugar cane.
Well, because it's a root vegetable, you can pretty well drop it in just about any hole and it'll grow. So
Potato, but
corn farmers that have
makes
been that are being paid not to grow the corn can now have a cash crop.
what about um, what about marijuana and getting the oil and burning that? Although there is of course
I
an
don't.
emissions issue with that. I don't know. Maybe it could be encapsulated, but it's burnable. It catches fire in oil and can burn a long time.
I'll be absolutely honest with you. I don't know enough about it to even be able to even begin to hazard a guess. But I will be the first to say that if you were to do that, what company would be the ones that would push that? And right now, most people don't realize since the 1980s, the number one company that has been kind of behind the scenes working with what marijuana can do is a company that scares me half to death. Monsanto.
Oh my God! No, they're gonna put carg in our carg. Ah!
So
3D print your nuggets, people.
so uh, there is
Dang, Monsanto.
now you see why it worries
So
me.
they have been in development of multiple toxifying agents, and weren't they involved with the creation and development of Agent Orange?
I think so. I forget who did that.
And they still are good to go in America. Yeah, still our Vietnam vets.
We're actually losing our
God,
Vietnam
that's horrible,
veterans
man.
faster than we are our
My
World
Uncle
War
Stevie
II
died
veterans.
from Agent Orange. You know, touches skin and his bones would break. It was horrible. I wasn't old enough to actually perceive it, and I was regretful of that.
Again,
And thank you for your service.
again to all of our veterans out there. And I even have a brother that came right after. I'm the oldest. My brother right after me. Big shout out to my nieces and nephews. He served in the U.S. Army.
Thank you for your service.
Again, I can't stress this enough. Okay. Um, Always remember, if something's about to be, all of a sudden delegalized, taken off of that illegal. Well, if it's going to be prohibited, ask where your rights are being taken away, and if they're taking it off of a prohibited list, follow the money.
You I think that there would probably be some sort of not necessarily an injustice upon the people, but there would be some sort of actual cognitive problem us burning pot oil, for gas.
I'm sure there would be.
But there's got to be a way to take out that chemical, so you still have that oil and plant material being burned with very, very little carbon footprint.
Well, okay. Well, let's go a step further. Do you remember? You might be too young to remember this when the EPA said that I think it was DuPont had to move away from using Freon. So they came up with so DuPont set out and came up with a coolant system for air conditioners that would be more friendly to the environment. You remember that?
I vaguely remember that, but isn't Freon still applicable?
Well, all they did was change one thing, and all of a sudden it's safe for the environment.
Looky there. Alrighty then.
I
Slap a
forget.
banana on it. You're good. See ya.
Yeah, see what I mean? Okay.
Rolling down the highway.
Business as usual, folks. Business as usual.
Okay, that's corrupt. What other corrupt issues can we come up with?
The list goes on.
The list goes on.
Again, and again, anybody who has any car questions whatsoever, I will do my best to answer them. I will admit that my car knowledge starts to dwindle after 1987, and it really drops off when you hit 2006. It really drops off.
Still, any of that is applicable knowledge in today's economy, and that we as the people can intercede these companies by way of getting the credentials, certifications, and presenting these ideas, hopefully with the community support, of course, then they can join us too in learning or developing and integrating these ideas. We want to create a huge developmental social construct, and we want to have a business become out of this, and make it come to fruition, our dreams and wants for our kin and the next of kin. Like I said, technology intelligence and the learning curve, a lot of areas demographically have a really bad influence, and it's the unions and the and any types of like deception like this. And why would you engineer it that way? I mean, I understand that you have the credentials, you have the degree, but you're making us lose money.
And I can answer that very easily. The reason why it's done that way is because they're told to do it that way.
Institutionalization.
Yeah.
Invasion of deception relative to imminent interaction between local innovators.
And again, I'm gonna blow your mind again. Whenever you go to buy a new car, it always gives an estimated EPA,
Rating.
Miles per gallon. Well, that's in optimal conditions. We're talking, the weather was perfect, the track was perfect, the stars were in alignment, there was no solar eclipse that day. We're talking,
but there still were extraterrestrial beings and entities coercing with our dimensions.
But so we're talking that, it's the perfect conditions, and they ran it at a certain speed, and most people don't even know when the tachometer in their car could actually save them gas. Even if you don't do any of the stuff that I talk about, your tachometer could save you gas. Whenever you hit in your automatic, four-wheel drive truck, don't take it past $2,000 on the tachometer.
Yeah, be cost effective with the choices that you do. I'm streaming from a smartphone, and people spend thousands of dollars a month for their equipment, cameras, and all this stuff, and you see the quality and interaction that Antitrust Incorporated presents, Content Creator Community TV, SketchSquadTV, and the Maverick Nation, right here. And so, coming into your living room, guys, we want to help, bridge a gap of technology with car concepts and, technology, computer systems and phones. So we're here to do that, and we have a best effort clause that will enable you that knowledge. And as long as you stay civil, we're going to be helping you. And so, in doing that and completing these things, you become more eligible for the giveaways. The Giving Back to the Future giveaway, where we give away 2 laptops when you complete these particular quests at awoindustries.webstore.com, which is all the things that we've been talking about. I mean, putting a fuel cell in your car. I mean, I'm going to give you kudos and put you number 1 in line to get a laptop to win it. And when we reach that $5,000 goal, and somebody else comes across it as an angel investor and spends $5,000 and gives us 3 fuel cells and 2 atmospheric water generators to help us develop this perpetual energy system that could potentially be modular inside of any of the carbureted driven or eccentric vehicles, which will start to help save the economy and our society, money being the change that we want to see.
Again, money is not the root of all evil, but again,
do right things with it.
The lack of money is the root of all evil. And the objective, again, is, if you will, the Prince Magnum channel is trying to help the consumer market save themselves money.
60% of what goes out of your pocket into the gas tank.
Yep.
Back into
again, I mean, I'm doing this, I'm doing, saving a ton of money as far as fuel economy goes with a 1975 Ford Maverick, Project Spirit. Yeah, when she goes down, we miss her. But when she's back, she always comes back bigger and badder than ever before. So ask yourself, am I being ripped off at the pump? And the answer is yes. And it's not the people inside behind the counter. No, it's those big corporations that have been lying to us and telling, again, the Prince Magnum channel has always been at the forefront. I guess you could say kind of part of that sphere of knowledge that gets the consumer market to, reevaluate gas mileage in
That's
modern
really
cars.
cool. Because I want to do that too, and have aspirations to do that, and have conceptually innovated this fuel cell integration. And I knew that a carbureted powered vehicle with a fuel system like that would be the most exponential as way of experience. And putting them in 2007 Honda Civic, where I got 65 miles to the gallon, and a Delta 88, where 130%, 72 miles to the gallon, or 82.
And see, I'm already getting all the way up there without.
Yeah, but I didn't know so efficient because of the 3D printing of the carburetors, or any badass fucking technology going into old back to the board knowledge that was tried and true when it was first pioneered.
When the Maverick came out, it was advertised as the simple machine, easy to work on, easy to maintain.
But that two-door coupe, man, it blazed past you. Those are cool.
Well, the old four-door Maverick. Again, I'll be the first to say I'm not a huge fan of.
We can chill, bro.
Right. Again, I keep hoping that somebody will pop on and ask the right question. Just blow everyone. That I can give that answer that'll blow everyone's mind. I will be the first to say that owning a classic Maverick is so much fun because people love that car.
Yeah, man.
As a matter of fact, I'll tell the story again. Oh, you go right on real quick. There was a particular gentleman that I ended up meeting, and it wasn't too long.
What was his name? Ren or Friend McCrendon and Osar?
Actually, I don't remember the guy's name. He was what was
you? Funny games.
I'll tell you a funny story. Is I was picking up Princess Faye from her job, and we'd only had Project Spirit for probably a couple of months by that time.
But you were hard at work thinking about that.
Oh man, I was already hard at it, and he was arguing with he was doing the floors where she works, was in waxing the floors, and when he came outside to have he was arguing with his partner, and they were going back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he said, "Wait a minute, shut up a second." And he's like, "What?" He looks at me, he says, "Young man, is that a Maverick?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is."
Ooh, on a double take.
And he's like,
"Oh, is rare."
And he's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "I went through 3 of these when I was a young parent."
Dude, I will show you the rarest Ford Mustang that is ever made. They made I think 100 of them. It's a Ford Mustang. I think it was a 500 convertible, and they had only a white top. It wasn't. It may have been black. I don't know. Was it 1965? I think Blackwell or something like that. It was a convertible. If anybody out there knows about this car, please tell me, because my music teacher knew about these, and we always did model cars together. Oh, he was yes. So the pace car was one of them, because they made so many rare. It was the pace car. That's what it was. And what is that one? It's not.
Okay, that is a 1965 Ford Mustang, Indianapolis 500 pace car replica.
That's cool.
And there wasn't that many of them made. I actually know someone who's got like a 19.
I don't really like Ford, but that one Ford is really like.
Well, I actually one of the guys who's working on Project Spirit right now, is the proud owner of, I think it's like a 1979, 1980. I forget when they did that pace car. But it was a 1979, 1980 Fox body Mustang Indianapolis 500 pace car replica. And he's had it since high school. Wow. He's an old high school buddy of mine.
Wow. And you had a friend, they have a friend out here that has the other Maverick too. It's gold. It's all tricked out.
No, he's in Colorado. Big shout out to Third Gen 83.
What up, Third Gen 83? We're gonna come across your stream, across the channel. We're gonna post this video and be like, we shout out, oh, support for support. Check out all this awesome knowledge that we're
actually. He's an avid subscriber
cool.
to the Prince Magnum channel for do-it-yourself budget hot rodding. He's probably been in tonight.
Well, we would like him to come in and collaborate with us and conversate with that.
Yeah, he's an amazing gentleman. He's I kind of met him that I was talking about, but fine gentleman. And I've got amazing video footage of his I think it's a 73, 74 Ford Maverick gold.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah, you've seen some of the.
Yeah, I've seen some good pictures. Oh,
easy killer.
I love 1968 Buick Rivieras. There's no other year like them. Look at those gold tires. It's all muddy. Yeah. Oh, it's hella beat up. I bet that sell for $500, dude. It was driven 500 miles. Ooh, they got a modified one.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the shit, bro. How it comes down like that. That's fucking amazing. I mean, I don't know, you don't like the big rims, but I mean, that's cool how they dropped it like that. It's a cruiser, bro.
Oh, yeah. Perfect for a nice boulevard cruise. And if you got the front bench seat, your sweetheart can slide right next to you. Put your arm around her and just cruise.
Right? And look at those drop-down headlights. I wonder if they work. A lot of them didn't work because they were
they're easy to get fixed.
Weren't they air compression?
No,
that looks like shit.
Yeah, that's no.
You did a bad job on that Riviera. That was the color of my 1968 Buick Riviera.
Beautiful. I love the white interior.
Color. And we had the same wheels, except that we had stock rims. Mm-hmm. Same tires. Excuse me. That shit's like a cruiser, bro. That's a big hunk of steel. It's the Batmobile, dude. Straight up.
Myself personally, I actually owned one Buick in my time. It was a 1984 Buick Regal.
Those are nice too.
And we had actually put a custom Chevrolet 283 under the hood with a 350 turbo automatic. Nice. And I told this story about how my son, Prince Python,
work on that 455 big block, or or whatever engine's in there. The Buicks kind of reverse engineered their engine, that have been successful in the past.
Right. Again, I can't say,
if you implement particular components, it's going to be.
The guy who designed this particular car loved trunk space.
Oh, yeah, well, definitely.
And you could actually see, even though the Batmobile was based on
car full of fat chicks, trunk full of Fago.
Ironically enough, the Batmobile was designed off of the Ford Futura and was built up by a special company that also did. If I remember correctly, he also did the car for the Monkees. And that would be a 1965.
Look at all these Batmobiles and concept cars. It's a Lego car right there, bro. The Lego Batmobile. Let's see here. Oh, there's a Batmobile action figure model. That's neat. Oh, look at that one.
Uh-huh.
Was that like the first or second one?
That's a slightly older version.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Look at that Batmobile. What the hell?
A 1963 Corvette. Yep. 1989 right there.
Welcome back, Princess. Oh, well, thank you. It's very thoughtful of you. I really appreciate that.
Yep. Again, for those who do not know, myself personally, I am not. I don't like how they did the Batmobile in recent movies. It should not be a tank.
I like the way it could jump. That was cool because he could do militant operations within the Justice League and, bridge the gap and bring that artillery.
Myself personally, the Batmobile should just be a car. Yeah, they lost me on that.
An Impala convertible. I had that.
Yep. Hi, honey. Yeah, we're still on.
What else is there? Shit, man.
I know we're running out of stuff, and
Chevelle.
yeah. My personal favorite Chevelle would be the 1966.
I'm just looking at mods because I like the way they do the. Whoa. Ah.
Yep.
That's cool.
And you don't even have. Yeah. Beautiful.
That's a beautiful burgundy on there.
Isn't it? Again, you know, if you like that, you know.
He did a good job on that, man.
Yeah, he did an amazing job.
Probably hella clean.
Oh, yeah. You'd probably eat off that dang thing.
Cook some eggs.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. See, and now I'm going to be the first to, you know, aesthetically, when you start talking about vehicles like this, when you start talking classic cars, please do me a favor. Don't put black wheels on them.
Can't see the detail.
Yeah. These cars need chrome. They need chrome or aluminum.
I want a fully chrome Buick Riviera. All chrome.
Hang on a second. We're being meowed at.
Yeah.
Galaxy.
Bye-bye, kitty.
Okay. So there we have that.
We're just kind of coming to an end here, guys. I really appreciate y'all's coming in. It was an awesome interaction. And we're just gonna, you know, kind of stick around a little bit. Just kind of hanging out. Whenever you feel like you want to end, go ahead and just do your closure, bro.
All right. Again, I love that's, you know, what cars were made of back. My God.
Look at that.
Isn't that beautiful?
The aerodynamics in this is really cool too.
Well, okay. We discovered back in the 60s, and we still use this today, that slope right there. If you can get that slope just right, it improved. Oh, I'm good. We improved the trim characteristics right there, and you'd see a significant improvement in your times just by doing that. That's why the 19, it's like,
This back-to-back window part.
yeah, that slope back design right there, it improves it up. Air doesn't get trapped, and it just flows.
How come you nose? Ooh, wait, I just seen it iridescent. Ooh, that's cool.
Isn't that pretty?
That's cool. Thanks, Alan.
Well, I know. Well, if you want to see one of the most interesting El Caminos that ever existed,
Yes.
1959 Chevy El Camino. You're gonna fall in love. 59.
Mod.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you can put a swimming pool in the back of that one.
Why would you want to? You got a great.
Good job on that. Real first.
Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
That is awesome. Oh, that one had a tailgate in it. Oh, they all had tailgates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Isn't that beautiful?
My stepdad had that model type. Wow. That's so my dad had Nicholas had 2 panel trucks, and he was restoring them. And they were really cool. They were what, 4 panel trucks? Like 4? I think so.
Well, there was Ford, Chevy, and Dodge all had panel trucks.
They had, it was very smooth, like right back.
Yeah. Most people mistake them for hearses, but they're not.
And my brother Mark in Florida bought it and painted it canary yellow. Put Roadrunner on the side. I'm like, bro. What was it, Chevy? I think he had Chevy. Yeah. Those are cool because you can put like beds and shit in the back. Yeah, that was it. There it is. Yep. This one. That's the one he had.
1958. Beautiful.
I like those.
Actually, if you want to see an interesting car.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go with the 1957 Chevrolet sedan delivery.
The delivery.
Yep. Here it is, someone. Should be.
Yeah.
Check the cabinet. It might be in the dishwasher. We'll look.
I didn't use it. Last I seen it was on the counter.
But see, they mistake that for a hearse.
Ooh.
Isn't that beautiful?
Ooh.
You ever see anything like that?
I'm in those. I'm like,
That's sedan delivery.
ooh, with hydraulics. Mmm.
Actually, that's a gasser. Except for the drag strip.
That looks like a hearse.
But it's not.
Look like a Batmobile FBI surveillance van and shit.
Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm. Oh, what were those vans, dude, that were like had Nintendos in them?
I
I
forget.
think they were internationals. Yeah, I can't spell. Nintendo ports in the back with a TV.
Hey, look, a Famicom.
Oh, man, what was it? It was a van.
No.
No. This is it with Nintendo. And yes. Where is this vehicle?
Well,
Vans of the past with Nintendo Entertainment Systems. Oh, I got some spyware going on with that. I don't know. Vans with, right now. Old vans with, God damn it. Oh, excuse my French. With NES. No!
yeah, this is not going
What
to
the hell was it, man?
We'll have to look at that. But anyhow, I know I'm going to have to go get ready
All right.
to crash out. What do we got going on?
Thanks for stopping by the educational, informational live gaming stream on how to develop your own stream and game for kids. What's up, Badass Matt? He said, what's up, friend?
Hey, what's going on?
I'll just take right
Badass
off and
Matt.
end the stream. We did a whole interview on the stream about Prince Magnum and his vast knowledge on classic car concepts into the present time. Talked about Tesla. We talked about foreign trade policies within the shipping of the cars, how much they expenditure and send it out.
Yeah.
We looked at some classic cars.
Appreciate you coming in and supporting us. Again, the classic car community needs to get bigger. The custom car community in general needs to get bigger. We're starting to see more and more of our that particular genre start to fade into obscurity, and this is the lifestyle that I grew up in, and I know a guy who's got one of those.
I mean, it is. It's getting lost within all of this, all these things that we've been talking about. Inceptions and misdirections, misinformation. I mean, these engines aren't being built very efficiently, and neither are the shipping logistics on point. With the integration of the 3D printing of carbon fiber car parts, you could potentially, speed up the time efficiency between the parts creation and the installation out the door to the customer. And these cars, we want to have transportation, and we want to be able to save money on the gas and have 60% of our what we spend on gas now go back in our pockets with the integration of fuel cell technology and Prince Magnum's vast knowledge, disregarding anything negative and just being an open mind and learning. I've learned a lot this live stream, and it's just a really cool thing that we learned today. And that cuts it short, man. Sketch Squad is the educational, informational live gaming stream. How to develop your own stream game for kids in your local community with
Antitrust Incorporated, and extra-life.org. In our efforts to game for kids in the hospital and stream from smartphone, helping the consumer economy yourself, which will, you get unlimited internet, you replace your home internet bill, and you kick the home internet out of the house where you got AT&T or Spectrum or Xfinity and all that stuff. It's a thing of the past, and they have a capacity rate, so that's not good. Like what we do on these streams, we use like 1,300 or 1,500 gigs a month through the smartphone. You know, and it's not a hotspot, it's modified. We show people how to do that. And in the process of you doing these things and following the Sketch Squad and Antitrust Incorporated Best Effort Clause and Sketch Squad Streamer Achievement Quest List, you become eligible to win those Razer laptops for our content creator giveaway. We're giving away 2 laptops, 10 Blizzard game time cards for World of Warcraft or whatever game you play on Blizzard. And just a whole bunch of stuff given away. We're giving Razer headsets, mice, keyboards. Eventually, when Prince Magnum, by the way, go subscribe to Prince Magnum at youtube.com/Prince Magnum. 500, we're going to go ahead and do the giveaway for this steering wheel cover.
Again, you know, I love, you know, trying to give back as much as I possibly can to all of you, the Maverick Nation.
I'd love to be able to reach that goal and be like, have a stack of stuff from computers back here, be like, guess what?
Time for a giveaway.
Time for a giveaway. And I'd be giving that out. And we're saving the money into this content creator giveaway by way of helping you share the links, get $500 off a laptop. You don't got to buy it. Share it with somebody. You are then affiliated with my Sketch Squad and our Sketch Squad Antitrust Incorporated umbrella corporation to earn commission. You earn commission when you share those links and you go sell the computers, because there's $500 off, $700 off, and it comes with $360 of games and software with Black Ops 4, a Fortnite counterattack set. There's video games that come with it. I mean, check out the humble bundle, you know, with the Children's Miracle Network. You spend whatever you want, $5 to $7. You get like 5 games of the latest and greatest, and it's helping the kids in the St. Louis, Cardinal Glennon as of now. We want to be able to have something ready to put in place, as Prince Magnum says, when they are getting out of the hospital, and you know that they have a dog or cat to cuddle with when they go home, and you know they're either ambulatory or have some sort of
and again, you know,
ailment.
I can't say enough. You know, the Prince Magnum Field is always proud to provide DIY stuff, but when they do get home, they've got something to do.
It's something applicational, real world, man. The smartphone technology saving money, and the integration to the cars with all the technology, and while keeping the I don't want to say old, but the old formats.
Well, not just that, but keeping the history.
Thanks for the like, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Badass man, amazing guy. I've sat in on some of his streams. He's absolutely hilarious.
Go check out Badass Matt 561 Team Badass. Right. Thanks so much for being part of the community, man. I definitely want to advocate you to just share the links. It doesn't cost you anything. When you share 20 links, you become one step closer to being eligible to winning those laptops. Share the links. Tell people about the $500 off. Give them the promo codes. And guess what happens? You earn 50% of the commission. I take 40% of it, give it to the content creator giveaway for all the giveaway stuff. So when we reach the $5,000 goal, it's giving stuff away. And then every time we split a commission, I give 10% of my expected. And or, you know, friends got breast cancer. We want you to bring in Susan G. Komen for the cure. We want you to bring in health supplements and resources that's going to help people. You know that astragalus, echinacea, cat's claw, colloidal silver, and SNase and iodine, when used in combination in a moderated format, it's killing cancer, and they don't want you to know this. That's why it's sold on Infowars.com. These are pure substances to make your immunology run normal.
And we all know that the Prince Magnum channel has utilized Infowars.com.
Oh, definitely.
You've seen some of the video footage.
Oh man, I mean, he's got a lot of satire. He's getting older, so he's making an activity, and there's a young youth of the nation that is interested in what he's doing and are on his shows. They avidly take part in the satire, and it may be sometimes unorthodox, but I think it's kind of cool and random. I don't necessarily like to watch or listen to that part of him, but anything that has to do with his InfoWars radio and listening to it afar while these things are happening. As a matter of fact, there was a lady when they were doing the foreign trade policy thing in 2015. She got brought back to Texas with Ebola, like 5 miles away from where I was living. And the Central for Disease Control says that it's not airborne, but they also say that vitamin deficiency is one of the leading causes of immunology deficiency and sickness here in America. So what we want to do is promote those health products to firstly get you to think clearly and feel great and get those things to run. Get your body to run how they're supposed to, including the endocrine system for women, using that super women's vitality to help for preventive maintenance on lupus.
All right. I know this is bringing.
Yeah, copy those links, share them all over Facebook, all over the internet, 4chan, wherever you want. Be like, look, there's $500 off this laptop. Go to awindustries.webstore.com. Check out the Razor promos and links, guys.
All right. I know that's bringing us to a nice stopping point. So, if you will, as always, for all of you out there, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourself. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.